What do you do when your learners don't want to write? Hello historians, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Cecilia Tamez, and I help overwhelmed and overworked history teachers become confident facilitators of student-centered and student-led classrooms. If you're excited to learn how you can support your students in writing for history class, I would appreciate a thumbs up so that more teachers who may have students that are struggling with writing can benefit also. Now, I know this may seem totally counterintuitive, but for starters, if you want to get your students to write in your history class, don't tell them you're writing. For reluctant writers, the initial packaging of your lesson is everything. So make it a game, make it a collaborative activity, break it up into chunks, use imagery or questions to provoke their thinking, anything. But take out a sheet of paper. We're going to be writing a short answer or a paragraph about ... because for a student that has red flag written all over it. Now, if you have reluctant writers, let me know in the comments below. What has worked for you? Or what struggles do you face with your learners that I can support you with? I'd love to hear how I can help. The second thing you need to do in order to get students to write in your history class is to discuss before writing. You need to allow your students to get invested, intrigued, passionate about the topic that they're going to write about. So things like visuals, Socratic seminars, and primary sources that bring up historical discrepancies. Pretty much any resource that allows students to formulate their own opinions. The more you let students' thoughts process and simmer, the better. Because this is going to mean that their ideas are way more developed and there's going to be a lot more engagement on their end. Oftentimes, when our students feel overwhelmed or like they have writer's block or they're stuck, it's because they really haven't been given enough time to process information and develop their own ideas about that specific topic. And if they don't care, right? Because we've not given them the time for them to get invested in that topic. If they don't care, they're not going to find it relevant, which means that they won't be engaged in the assignment. The next thing you want to do to get your students to write in your history class is model how to write. Now, if your students don't like to write, it's not uncommon for them to have a reservation about writing because they personally don't feel like they can do it or they don't know how. So we need to model and scaffold this process for our students. As your students become a little bit more comfortable with the writing process, with the structure, then your scaffolding, your outlines become a little less detailed. So in my experience, one of the things that's really helped my students is having sentence stem structures that they can look at as a guide for how to construct their sentences, how to piece together their paragraphs. Even grading or having students peer review each other's essays is also helpful for both the reviewed and the reviewee. So if I have, for example, a very reluctant student group, I may start off with a very heavily supported writing outline, and I would teach students the structure of their writing. So for example, starting with the opening topic, creating context for the reader, developing a thesis statement or an argument, then providing evidence, maybe 3 reasons about that thesis or about that idea that's been formulated. And then their closing paragraph would be to summarize, to justify, and to add some concluding remarks about their thesis and their evidence. I would also consider modeling sample phrases, sentence structures, and really embed that into every lesson, every activity. If we're writing notes, we have them write in that structure. If we're responding verbally, maybe also, prompt students to respond using those very same sentence stems so that this becomes their natural verbiage, and something that they're comfortable with and accustomed to. When this starts to become habitual, then that's when we can start weaning our students off of heavily scaffolded writing structures. The next thing you can do to get your students to write for history class is to break out of tradition. So this kind of goes back to number 1, right? The way you package your lesson matters. Now, this isn't about like clickbaiting your students. It's about finding ways to make this assignment actually enjoyable. So you can make your assignment collaborative. And a quick idea that I'm going to share with you is a collaborative writing activity that I call Fantastic Four. Don't ask why I called it Fantastic Four. The idea of this was I had some vocabulary words based on a certain historical time period written up on the board, and everyone starts with their own sheet of paper. They start writing a short response using some of that vocabulary, and I put it up there as a way to scaffold them. And then a timer would ring, students would switch, and the next student would continue adding to that historical response. And then at the end, we would read the responses that we created collaboratively. You can also use this structure to do like brainstorming before students start writing. Another suggestion is that you can make your writing assignments just a little bit shorter while your students build up the stamina that they need in order to do a full-length writing assignment or essay. So something like speeches, or breaking up the actual writing assignment into a little series or into parts, with you scaffolding them through the structure of a historical essay. And you can break this up and package it, maybe something like a children's book, or maybe a comic series. Another tip to help you get your students to write in your history class is to make it relevant. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you've heard me say time and time again that relevancy is the key to engagement. And we create relevancy and student interest by showing our students why this idea, task, assignment, etc. should be important to them right here, right now. I mean, now. Like, they need to do this assignment, this writing assignment, because they're going to use it to play a game with the information that they summarized or learned. Or maybe just, tell your class the stories that we're writing, this series or the children's book or these diary entries. We are going to send them to the elementary school across the street for 5th graders to read and use in their history class, etc. So another quick way to create relevancy is to create prompts that extend student thinking from the past to the present. So this is another quick way that we can create buy-in from our students to care enough, to be engaged enough, to be passionate enough about this topic that they will set their apprehensions or their self-doubt a little bit to the side enough so that they can contribute their response. Now, if you need additional resources and support to get your students to write in your history class, down in the description, I have a link for my history teacher help hotline. And I send exclusive content, support, strategies straight to your inbox for members only. If you found this video helpful, be sure to watch Plan Better History Lessons, and I'll go ahead and link that down below for you. And also comment if there's any specific topic about writing for history class that you would want me to elaborate on. Don't forget to show your support by subscribing. It's completely free and I would greatly appreciate it. I want your success. I'm rooting for you. Until next time, class dismissed.